Chaz Bryant, and welcome to the pre-fight show for Fight for It 14, presented to you by Carolina Warrior TV. Over the next couple minutes, we'll get you ready for some big night of fights on Saturday the 18th. We'll talk to some of the fighters getting ready for their fights at the downtown Spartanburg Marriott. Now, this will be the second time the Marriott will host a Fight for It fight night. Kickboxing, both youth and adult, and of course MMA action featuring amateurs and professionals are scheduled to be part of an amazing night of combat sports action. So here's a look at the fight card as it stands right now. Earlier, I was able to talk to Gabriel Brown in Inman, South Carolina, and I started by asking him how the transition from amateur to pro has been for him.
Well, it's been pretty much almost the same. Like, I've been training my butt off since I amateur, since I was a little kid, so my entire life. So,
How important is it to you to be fighting in front of your friends and family?
it's important, but mostly it's important for me. Like, I just want to do my thing, not hold back, and I just want to entertain everybody.
You've been here at Revolution for quite a while, and you've been training in martial arts for most of your life. What skills are you still picking up?
Good grappling, stand up. This gym helps you a lot with sit-to and your stand up.
What are you picking up from people like Jimmy Fowler and the Scoggins?
Justin, his stand up is beautiful, his movement, everything. His stand up, Sarah Man, great grappler, tough wrestler. She's amazing, and it's a blessing to train with them and do what they do.
You went 6-2 as an amateur, and most people would say that's not a bad record. How would you characterize that portion of your career?
Characterize, like, I wish I can like do more or show more on my stand up, but there's sometimes I show my stand up, but I mostly show my grappling in some of my fights. But in those two losses, like, I was being dumb, reckless, but in my pro, I'm going to do what I do, like show my style.
What type of style is comfortable for you? As an amateur, you had to hold back. How much more do you want to show off your skills as a pro?
I want to show my stand-up. I know I got really good stand-up. And my wrestling, I'm pretty much an all-rounder.
You're coming off a pretty good winning streak. If we can wave a magic wand and fast forward to the end of 2023, where do you see yourself?
The Contender Series, like, at least get like 3 or 4 fights, and just wherever, like, get me a good place. But I like to get in the Contender or anywhere around the UFC Fight Pass.
And we thank Gabriel for his time, and we could see Gabriel in the Contender Series. First, however, he has to get past his opponent, Pierce, who's 5-1 as a pro, and since October 2020 has gone 2-1. Gabriel is trying to redeem himself inside the Fight for It cage. One of his only 2 losses came at Fight for It 6 versus Billy Jack Cup, way back in May of 2019. One of Gabriel's teammates is Ernest Robinson, who is also fighting on the card. Ernest makes his pro debut on Saturday. I started by asking Ernest how much he is looking forward to his first pro fight and bring elements to the game he couldn't as an amateur.
I'm very excited to use the new elements that I have to use as a pro that I couldn't use as an amateur. Excited to test myself and finally get that first pro fight.
What growth have you seen yourself in the amateur ranks?
Well, I've had a long amateur career. I've had plenty of time to grow and learn from my mistakes, and it's been a long road, long journey, a long time coming to have a pro fight, but I'm thankful for that because I've been able to learn a lot of things about myself and a lot of improvements I need to make to my game in order to go to the pro ranks.
What is it like training with all the talent at Revolution?
It's very challenging every day. Sometimes you the hammer, sometimes you the nail, like the saying goes. But I enjoy it. They don't care about how old I am, or my age or anything like that. The coaches and my teammates push me as hard as I can be pushed to my limits.
Now, what is it like being one of the more seasoned guys up at Revolution?
I like that, seasoned. I enjoy it. I get pushed every day by my coach, by my teammates. You know, no matter my age or anything like that, no discrimination whatsoever. They push me as they push somebody 20 years younger, and I enjoy it. It pushes me and lets me know about myself and my limitations, and know that that I have the heart and the desire to put up any challenge.
This will be your first fight since 2020. Is it frustrating not having a fight in close to 3 years, or is it worth the wait?
Yes, I've been going through a lot of things since 2020, you know, with the COVID, and then I had a little injuries here and there, and a couple of things I wanted to handle in my everyday life. So it was now it was depressing. It was a little depressing at first, but now I realized that it was well worth the wait, and I made it very big improvements, and can't wait to showcase them in the pro ranks.
How excited are you to be fighting basically in your backyard?
I'm very excited. I do consider this my backyard, even though I am from Greenville, South Carolina. I've fought at Spartanburg Marriott at least 4 times, I believe, and so it is definitely my backyard. I'm very excited to get back in the cage. Very excited to be in Spartanburg, and just can't wait.
In his amateur career, Ernest went 5-6.
All right, joining me now from Indian Trail, North Carolina, is my buddy Josh Monsinger. How's it going, Josh?
It's going. I just got done with kickboxing. We did a lot of southpaw work with John Martin. He's fighting as well next month, and just trying to stay ready. I've been grinding since last fight, so 2-3 months, and fortunately my buddy Kendall couldn't fight, so my coach pulled him because he's been sick, and he's like, hey Josh, you want to fight? And hey, here we are. I'm Kendall, and I'm making my pro debut next Saturday.
Here you are. It's a short notice interview, short notice fight. How do you stay ready? Because you guys always train, especially the Carolina Combat Sports and Fitness, always stay ready for these type of fights. So what was the preparation going from, I guess, about 48 hours to having no fight to now having a fight?
Yeah, I mean, I've been training. My cardio's good. I've been doing, pro rounds. And, they always say stay ready so you don't have to get ready. My coach said, hey, you want to fight? But yeah, let's do it. It's my pro debut, but I'm going to have to take these fights eventually, especially when I, make it big, or when I do make it big. So my thought process is, why not now? Like, why not take short notice fights now? Because it's going to happen in the future. Somebody calls and says, hey, Josh, Contender Series 2 weeks. Yes or no? You're going to have to say yes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought process.
And me and you have talked, and just full disclosure, me and Josh are buddies. We're inside each other's phone books there. You've been ready. You've been trying to look forward to this fight, a pro debut, for the longest time now. So it's got to feel satisfying that even though it's short notice, you got to fight, and you're going to be a pro MMA fighter.
Yeah. It's satisfying, but it's also, it's a little nervous, a little anxious, it's excitement. But at the end of the day, it's, no matter what emotions, I feel, it's just about putting in the action and putting in the work and letting that, speak for itself, when I go out there and fight. So short notice fight, tough opponent. I don't think he's crazy good anywhere, but, he's experienced. He's got good kickboxing, good wrestling, decent jiu-jitsu. So it's a win-win for me. If I lose, which I don't plan on losing, if I lose, it's whatever. It's just back to the drawing board. And if I win, then yeah, let's keep going.
And it's funny because both you and Ernest, and of course, in the wild world of stuff that I do on a daily basis, both made reference that we have all crossed paths.
Yeah.
And down at Modern Warrior MMA, how freaky it is for you to be fighting, even though, it's probably just a nice friendly rivalry, or just being, stuff happens in the small world of MMA. How unique and freaky it is to be facing a guy you sparred with down. And
yeah, it's definitely very interesting. I think that was 2-3 years ago. Ernest, I got nothing bad to say about Ernest. Like he's a super good dude, super cool guy. He's always very friendly, and we were two different people when we sparred, 2 3 years ago, and I'm sure he's gotten a lot better, and I've gotten a lot better too. So I'm curious to see how my skills and my what I have to offer in MMA, how it's going to be against Ernest, because I know he has been training his butt off
Absolutely.
on that Revolution as well.
What is it like training with the guys at Carolina Combat Sports and Fitness? It's a fairly new gym down there. What's the atmosphere, the vibe like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a new gym, but it's the same people, surrounding me. We got Coach Tom. He's holding everybody together, accountable, and he's very open-minded too. So if you have any questions, if you want to work, different things, he's not willing to, say no. We have to do it this way. We have, Brian in the UFC, pushing all of us. Shamik, Jonathan Martin's about to make his fifth pro fight. So over here is great. We're all really high level, and we're all just pushing each other. But the biggest thing is just mental mentality. You are your own worst critic, but everybody else is holding you accountable as well.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're all just getting better right now. So a new gym, same people surround me, and that's it. We're just getting better, and we're just trying to take over this regional scene, and then make it a national powerhouse. We don't want to just be on the East Coast. We want to be the best gym in the nation.
And speaking of not being on the East Coast, you were on the West Coast in Beverly Hills not too long ago.
Yeah.
How disappointed were you not to be a famous action star by now?
Yeah, man. Chad, you took me to Beverly Hills. I got a little taste of it. We did our little trip. We did some work. It was good seeing the West Coast, and our main gym is actually out in LA.
Yes.
But nothing is like being back here at home, training with all the boys, and eventually, maybe we can go to the West Coast and get some fights out there as well.
There you go. Finishing out, Josh Munsinger making his pro debut on Fight Fort 14. We'll see you in a couple of days, buddy.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, Chaz.
You're welcome.
Tanner Sharancino has been one of the most battle-tested athletes in the Carolinas. Fights in the upstate, fights in Atlanta, on the boardwalk of Atlantic City, the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee, and of course the WWE Toughen Us series. But with a new family and a business owner, I asked him how does he juggle being a pro MMA fighter and his real-life duties.
It's pretty difficult. I'm a small business owner myself. I own a successful tree and crane company, so juggling that on top of I got 2 little girls and a wife, and then my MMA career, it comes down to pretty strict planning. I got to be consistent with my scheduling and set aside time for each thing. And with the support of my wife helping me do that all, taking care of the family at home, it makes it a lot easier. And I got a great crew to take care of the jobs and stuff for me, so I'm starting to smooth those jobs out where I'm not needed as much on site, so I can take care of the little things to keep the business running and growing.
You've been at Revolution for a long time. What skills are you still picking up from the guys there?
Every skill you need in MMA. I don't like to stop learning. I don't plateau. You're not a master at anything in this world, fighting or world related. So you can always learn something new. I just got my black belt, a year ago, and I've still continued learning since then. So learning doesn't stop.
We see you competing in jiu-jitsu tournaments. How important is it to you to stay active in other disciplines as a pro?
I love competing. I don't fight, for the money. There's not a lot of money in this, even when you make it to the big game. I think it comes out to maybe a couple bucks. I think I actually lost money on my last fight. When you pay for the medicals, the training, and all that, you don't make money. I do this because I truly enjoy competing. I love fighting, and that's why I do what I do.
Both Cub and yourself have a strong body of work to look at. You've competed against so many types and styles of fighters. Does anything really surprise you in the cage anymore when it comes to your opponents?
Not entirely. I try, back to that previous question, I always try to just improve myself. 9 times out of 10, if I'm going to lose a fight, it's going to be because of me, mistakes I've made. And I try not to focus a ton on my opponent. I like to know, what they may like, but it's, you're always going to get surprised. And if I've surprised people, my last opponent, he didn't think I was going to strike with him because he was a striker and I outstruck him. So, I like to just focus on myself, get better myself, and compete against myself in that cage. My opponent's just kind of a byproduct of what's going to happen.
You only had one fight in 2022. How many times do you see yourself fighting in 2023?
I'm healthy. I've got my business, nailed down to where I'm not needed as much. So I'm really this year able to focus more on my training. I can get my 2-a-days in. I can get consistent training. I can travel a little bit if I need it. So we're looking to just kind of keep our win streak going and hopefully make it to that big show real soon.
Tanner's opponent on Saturday night will be Cub Hawkins, 7 years younger than Tanner at 25 years old, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Since turning pro last April, Cub has competed in 4 combat competitions, 2 MMA fights, and 2 bare knuckle bouts. His record, 4-0, including a win at Global Legion in the Palmetto State this past September.
All right, fight fans, we've got a real treat for you. He is the voice, Mr. Dylan McGrath of Fight For It. He'll be out there in Spartanburg, South Carolina, along with me, I believe. Yep. Coming up on the 18th, the big night of fights. Dylan, you're like Mike Goldberg.
Yeah.
You're Joe Buck. For an older generation like myself, you're the Pat Summerall and Marv Albert.
Now that's a great. I like, I'm trying to be somewhere between Mike Goldberg and Stuart Scott. Those were the 2 guys that really, influenced me the most as a kid. So if I can get one of them, I'm doing good.
Absolutely. The late great Stuart Scott out of the Carolinas himself to the University of Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels. Dylan, right off the bat, I'm going to start you off with something hopefully a bit easy for you.
Okay.
What fight are you most looking forward to on Saturday?
I went back and forth on this one for a little bit, especially when they were kind of playing around with ideas of a lot of different fights. And when I heard pro fights were coming back to Fight For It, I was super excited. And I'm most excited, I got to say, about Gabriel Brown versus Paris Artis. I'm a big fan of both these guys. I've commentated fights for Paris on Next Level Fight Club. I've commentated fights for Gabriel at both Fight For It, Conflict. I've seen him go from an amateur. I think it was in his second fight. He lost to Billy Jack Cup via a Darce. And it was kind of a questionable stoppage at the time. I thought I was sure of what I was seeing. And then when I went back and looked at it on the monitor after the fact, I was like, maybe Gabriel had some reasons to be upset there. But I noticed in your interview, he didn't mention that at all. He took full responsibility for his losses and just said that, he's improving every day. He's on an incredible team. I think one of the storylines of this card is definitely the Evolution Fight team as a whole, looking at that 1, 2, 3, talking about the main card there. I think that is a big story going into this, is just how much Justin Scoggins, Sarah McMahon, the people that are in there every day, sharpening the iron, as they say, in this industry, in this game. I'm excited to see what Gabriel Brown brings to the table, because I know that this guy, I've seen a lot of his fights. I've been right there. He is vicious on the ground, and he's not just one of these guys that gets you down and holds you down. He likes to hurt people on the ground. He's a great ground and pound fighter, a great submission artist. And the return of Paris Artis, I think this to the Carolinas, this goes without saying, one of the biggest prospects this area has had in a long, long time. When you talk about the Brian Battles, when you talk about the Trayshawn Gores of this fight scene, this is a guy who definitely stands out as somebody who maybe, if COVID had not happened, would already be in the big show. Right. And here he is, 5-1, taking on an emerging pro fighter in Gabriel Brown. This is a situation where I feel like there's not a lot to gain for Paris Artis other than putting on a phenomenal performance, but he's taking on an extremely game and dangerous dude in Gabriel Brown. And I'm excited to see if he can keep it on the feet, because I know that's the one thing Gabriel Brown definitely has an edge on him on, is that wrestling.
And the first time, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, and thank you for the pronunciation of Gabriel Brown, that the first time I spoke to him face to face, soft-spoken kid, but watch his workout. He is a pure stud, grade A beef stud out there.
He's jacked. Yeah. He's jacked. And he, like you said, in his interview, he was like, I've been training for this all my life. And he definitely has both the body of work and the literal physical body of someone who has been doing this all their life. And when people talk about the next generation of MMA fighters, when they talk about people who were, from the time they're 5 years old, they're in a gi to now, Gabriel Brown is one of those guys. And it's not just that he's got all this background in martial arts. It's specifically so long in the hardest aspects of martial arts. So the wrestling, the grappling, the grind. He doesn't have any problem going into the gym and grinding for 3, 4, 5 hours with people that are very high level, like Scoggins, like Sarah McMahon, people who can push the pace on him and still make him feel tested, even though he's been doing this for so long and this is just his everyday life. I'm pretty impressed by him overall as a talent, but I was also, when you see him on fight night and then you see him just like in an interview with you, it's a completely different guy in there, and he's definitely one of those guys that flips a switch. So.
Absolutely, and he started out so young. I believe he's in his early 20s. I think he's been training in some sort of combat sport ever since he was like 12 or something like that.
Yeah, and if he finishes, especially if he can finish a guy like Paris Artis, he was talking about fighting 3 or 4 times this year and then being on the contender series. If you finish Paris Artis at a fight like this, dude, we're talking maybe 2 fights, 3 fights max, and you're going to be in that contender series slot for sure.
And Paris is no slouch too.
Not at all.
We're giving love to Gabriel, but kid.
Yeah, I think the reason I'm so heavy on Gabriel is because I definitely think he's going to be perceived as the underdog by most people that are in the know. Paris, like I said, he's a phenomenal talent. And not only is he technical and talented, he can really put people away. I mean, you see him, especially for his weight class, he's not the world's tallest guy in the world. He's not the most muscular guy in the world. But when he hits people, he hits them in the right places with timing, with accuracy and power. And yeah, I mean, I've seen him knock out some guys in some pretty precarious spots, and he's not a slouch on the ground either by any means. It's not like Gabriel's going to have an easy time holding him down. I just think that Paris has everything to lose here, and I think that he really has to go out there and have a statement type of finish against Gabriel, and then we could be seeing him in the contender series as early as his next fight, if not the fight after next.
Absolutely. What fight do you think, or fighter may have you think might come as a surprise on that fight night?
There's 2 fights in particular that I think are worth mentioning here. Of course, sticking with the pros, I think the Castro and Whitlow fight is going to be really good. Both these guys are pro debuts, but if you look at their body of work from before they made their pro debut, especially their fights at Fight For It, they're both really gamers. Castro is a traditional, when it comes to MMA, he's like a very traditionalist Mexican style boxer type of fighter. He's got hands. He put them on Emmanuel Simpson the last fight I called of his, and I know he's got some wins since then as well. And then you have Whitlow, who's good on the feet, good with grappling, has a couple of wins by submission. Always aggressive. That's what both these guys bring to the table. So, Castro had that fight with Ahmed Kamas. That was a draw, fight of the night type of fight. I'm expecting not a draw. I'm sure one of them will actually walk away with the victory, but I am expecting another fight of the night type of fight. Now we're talking about fighters that may surprise you. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by Addison Hendry. He's taking on Emmanuel Simpson out of one of the toughest gyms in the entire East Coast, if not, the entire country in Carolina Combat Sports. I think, formerly Highston Charlotte, now Coach Sigler and those guys over at Carolina Combat Sports, they have Kendall Morris, they have all of these guys. And one of their guys that's been with them for a long time is Emmanuel Simpson. If you watch Fight For It, you know what he can do. Addison's also fought on Fight For It, but I'm telling you, this kid is a completely different animal than when he was fighting on Fight For It. I've trained with him recently. I taught him a little bit of like a sequence at Hometown, a sequence that I would spend mostly like an hour and 20 minutes teaching grappling wise. He picked it up in like 15 minutes and was hitting the reps like better. His reps were looking better than mine after like 3 or 4 reps. So I just think he's a sponge of talent. He comes from a very, very small gym, Rory O'Malley's Fight Factory. Out in the middle of nowhere here up in Eastern NC. So I am sure that he's on nobody's radar going into this fight. And a lot of people know Carolina Combat Sports, and by proxy, a lot of people know Emmanuel. I think that Addison is not going to be any kind of pushover for him. And Emmanuel, I think, has something to prove to himself in this fight as well. So I'm excited for that one because I think it'll be very competitive.
Remember, you can still buy tickets for Fight For It 14 by visiting fightforitcompany.com. They have shirts, tickets, news, videos, and a whole lot more. Make sure you download the Fight For It app for your Apple or Android smartphone. Just visit your app store. Remember, these fight cards are subject to change, so stay connected to Fight For It on social media. It's so very important. Follow them on Facebook, Instagram, or on Twitter, or relive past fights on YouTube. Okay, that'll do it for now. I'm Chaz Bryant, and we thank you very much for watching this preview for Fight For It 14. We look forward to seeing you in Spartanburg, South Carolina for a great night of combat sports action. See you there, folks. Thank you.